So, when did counseling stop being about problem solving? Well, not anymore. Introducing solution-focused counseling with the Unlicensed Counselor. And now, here's your host, Steve Moak.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor on a nice little overcast day here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Hey, got some fun stuff I want to dig into today. This is really kind of a special Olympic theme episode of the Unlicensed Counselor. Got a little red, white, and blue on the shirt going on today. But if you're like me, you've been at home watching some of the Olympics. I mean, I'm all in. I love the swimming, I love the diving, the ping pong, the badminton, basketball, soccer. I mean, you name it. I got my daughter sitting next to me, talking to her how she's going to be the next great Olympic gymnast or swimmer. It is a lot of fun. But while I'm sitting at home watching these people just excel and do amazing things in terms of physical and team sport achievement, I'm going, how do they become so great? How do they achieve greatness while I am sitting here on my couch? And look, I played team sports, I played individual sports, I was a good athlete, still am a good athlete, but there's just something about these folks and why were they able to kind of reach that next couple levels of stratosphere. So got me thinking about how do folks achieve greatness, achieve excellence, and I wanted to dig into that a little bit today. I thought it would just be a fun kind of timely topic. And I really just enjoy everything about the Olympics. But let's dig into that a little bit more. But before we do that, I always want to say a big thank you to our friends at BetterDrugTest.com. I was actually just talking to the folks over at BetterDrugTest.com. This is the industry-leading at-home drug and alcohol screen. And I think, fingers crossed, get my fingers crossed with a pen in my hand here, that we're going to get a discount code that's going to be available to the Unlicensed Counselor podcast listeners. So hopefully I'm working my best to negotiate on behalf of everybody who is watching and listening to that. Because, look, I know, a lot of people tune in. I talk about drug and alcohol addiction. I'm a person in long-term recovery myself. Drug and alcohol testing is a key component in terms of accountability. And the BetterDrugTest.com test is really the one that you need to be using. It's uncheatable and the most accurate test that you can get on the market. So stay tuned. Hopefully I have a discount code coming your way as well too. Next thing I always like to talk about is the youth drug prevention work that I do. The organization is called Coalition for Youth Drug Abuse Prevention. The website is thestopstartshere.org. We're just rolling out some new content on social media as well too. Be sure, parents, I'm talking to you, and this would be a good one to meet with your kids about. We have what's called a Parents Prevention Playbook that we publish. Say that 3 times fast, Robin. Parents Prevention Playbook. It is really, it's really a manual that I co-authored with some other folks on kind of best tips and tricks in terms of talking to your kids and preventing any future drug addiction. So go to thestopstartshere.org. Last but not least, we are continue to pick up some steam on the Unlicensed Counselor social media channels. Follow us at the Unlicensed Counselor in all the usual places that you do. Check us out on YouTube. That's where we get all the clips for the show. I post a lot of the clips on Instagram as well, too, if you don't have time for the whole show. Although I think you should. I try and keep it to right around a half hour. And, because I just think they're really fun, important topics that I like to break down quickly for you. But give us a follow. One last little nugget. Program we know we're going to be bringing on a guest next week. Former professional UFC fighter, friend, now professional trainer, and trains UFC athletes as well, too. His name's George Castro. Looking forward to having him on the podcast in studio and talk to him a little bit about his past and how he kind of became a professional fighter, and a very interesting story behind it as well, too. Okay, good stuff. So, look, I love the Olympics. I really do. I love the patriotism. I love the competition. I love beating other countries. I think it's fun. I think the drama that kind of gets into all this, I really enjoy it. And it's this weird thing. It's being a little vulnerable myself. Sometimes I almost get emotional when I watch these things. I'm not going to say I cry, but, you kind of get that welling up and you see people and they're crying and they've worked for 4 years to do this and they achieved their goal or they fell short and it's like, your heart breaks for them because they built up for this moment. I don't know. I just really enjoy all that. But I've had this thought. It's like, what takes even the best high school athletes I know, from gymnasts or swimmers and golfers and all this type of stuff, rarely make it to the college rarely make it to the pros, let alone become the representatives for a country in the Olympics. So I started to break down some thoughts on kind of how folks separate themselves from the average. And really, I think it's kind of a combination of factors. That's mindset, habits, environment, and really dedication. So I just put together a list of some thoughts that maybe you have your son or daughter, like me. I'm sitting next to my daughter. She's 4. She's just getting ready to join the swim team. It's a lot of fun. You see all these parents sitting next in the stands at the swim meets or the gymnastics, kind of rooting on their kids. And I'm like, oh, man, wouldn't that be cool? And I'm not saying I'm trying to mold my daughter into being an Olympic athlete for swimming or diving or whatever the heck she wants to do. I don't care. But it is fun to kind of think that way. And as a parent of a young one, I'm like, I wonder if there's anything I could do to at least maybe steer them in that direction a little bit more, or maybe some things that I shouldn't be doing along the way too. But the number one thing that I had on my list was really clear goal setting, right? So setting specific goals. Successful individuals set clear, specific, and measurable goals. Look, I've talked about, I have a whole other episode on goal setting. You can go pick that in. Today, I'm really talking about the things that kind of separate people from the average to the excellent, to that greatness. And I do think clear goals is certainly one of those things. I also think that kind of the subpart of that specific goals is having that long-term vision of what you're trying to do, who you're trying to be, what you're trying to achieve as well, too. They have a vision, like a clear vision of the future, and then understand the steps that are required to get there. And I think those steps you can kind of modify over time, or maybe as your child gets older or things like that. But I do think helping paint that picture of what it could look like is an important thing. And that's honestly why, and I was talking to my daughter's swim coach, and she said, yes, sit her down, like watch the swimming events with her, kind of gets her excited, let her know what it could be. And again, I don't expect my daughter to go to the Olympics in swimming or anything like that, but if she could join her swim team and swim through middle and high school and maybe go to college or something like that alone would be just a huge win in life. And I think having these specific goals and kind of that long-term vision can certainly help someone at least start to get on that path to kind of break out of the ordinary and achieve greatness, which honestly not a lot of people do. And I've seen some incredible athletes, and at the end I'll talk about maybe a few of the things that can derail some of the people, because I'm sure we've all known just some of the best athletes in middle school or high school, and then you see them 5-10 years later and it's like, oh boy, that really, they peaked, or that didn't really plan out the way that they were probably hoping. So the next thing that I had on my list in terms of achieving greatness is strong work ethic. There are just no shortcuts around a strong work ethic. I was out on a run with a friend of mine this morning at 7 a.m. It was kind of, dare I say, nice out here because it's a little overcast today. And we were just talking about running as we're running and doing races. And one of the reasons I really like running, and I say this all the time to people I run with, and maybe you're new to running, like there's no shortcuts in running. You show up to a race, you either put in the time or the effort, or you didn't, and it shows up when you get to race day. You can't just kind of show up and think that you're going to run a 6-minute mile and you haven't trained, or go run a marathon or something like that. It leads to the first point, consistent effort. So consistently putting in the time and the effort, even when it's hard, even when it's challenging, even when you don't feel like doing it. So being consistent in doing that is really what the people who, again, achieve that level of greatness, or at least have that chance at achieving greatness, really do. And that ties directly into discipline as well, too. So staying disciplined in the routine, staying disciplined in the habits, and that involves eating, that involves sleeping, that involves a lot of other kind of social things as well, too, and some of the sacrifices that will go along with this as well, too. Now, again, not all of these things apply to little toddlers and things like that, but if you see your son or daughter is starting to have a trajectory through middle school or high school, I think it's important to kind of have these types of things, in conversations with them, so that you can let them know, hey, it takes this kind of discipline if you really want to have hopes or dreams to achieve that next level of greatness, right? And I do think about that with running all the time, because I see, it just... You either put in the time and effort, or you show up on race day and you just don't have it. And there's just no and I think it's what the beauty of running is to me personally. It's like you can tell who's great because they show up and they do it, and that means they were consistent, they were disciplined, they had the habits, they did all the things they needed to do. I don't know, that, and I love beating people too. Slightly competitive. And it's funny, my daughter's swim coach said the thing. She goes, she's 4 years old, but she's very competitive. And I said, that apple may not fall too far from the tree. So we'll see how that goes. That could be a double-edged sword. Next thing on achieving greatness or achieving excellence, growth mindset. I feel like you hear this term a lot on social media and maybe other podcasters who are cheesy or something like that. Certainly not this one. But growth mindset in the term of learning from your failure, viewing failure as an opportunity to learn and to improve. I think that's really important, of just understanding how and what it takes to kind of grow, but making sure that you're looking back on the things that didn't go your way. No athlete is ever going to just win every race or win every meet. You need to be able to look back at that and not pretend that it didn't happen or blame it on the coach or blame it on the ref or something like that. You need to be able to look back and go, okay, I came up short there. I didn't do this well here. We didn't play well as a team here, and have that kind of growth mindset and use it as an opportunity to get better, right? I see this all the time. If somebody, loses a championship in the NBA or football, I'll see the players on the other team, the confetti's coming down and everybody's celebrating, they're putting out the stage, and the other guys just kind of hang out there for a little bit. And it's almost like they're soaking it in, and they're soaking in that pain and trying to kind of learn and feel what it is so that hopefully they don't ever have to feel that again. And I always kind of enjoy those shots when they have the players that they're doing, because they're taking that opportunity to kind of soak it in, and I think have that growth mindset for next time around of I don't want to be here. I want to be celebrating with those guys and the confetti and all that kind of good stuff. I think the other point under the growth mindset idea is be open to feedback as well, too. Being open to constructive criticism and using it to grow. It's funny, again, and I keep referencing my daughter today, but one of the things, now that she's been swimming for a little while, we'll talk about the breaststroke or freestyle or whatever it is, and she's like, oh, I know how to do that one already. And I'm like, well, hold on a second here. How do you think you're going to improve if you think you already know how to do it, right? And she's like, well, I've been doing it. I know how to do it. And I said, I understand that you think you know how to do it, but did you see those girls who were swimming faster than you in the pool? Yeah. Well, you have to be open to some improvements on your swimming technique so that you can get better. Seems like a silly little example, but it really does kind of, and I actually talked to her about it. Just keep an open mind and make sure that you're listening to your coach so that you can improve. Try not to go into things thinking you've got this. You already know what needs to be done. And I do think it's a direct comparison to folks as you're getting older. If you think you've already got it, then where's that room for growth? That's kind of closing the door on that growth mindset. And I don't think that's a great way to obviously help push you to that next level and achieve the greatness that I'm sure you want to be able to do. Next up on the list, passion and purpose. And this is kind of that intrinsic, that internal motivation or a deep passion for their craft or field that drives them beyond just kind of those normal external rewards. I mean, these are the folks that kind of have something inside them. I think of it more of like an internal wiring. There's something that drives you behind, be more than just the winning and things like that. Like you've got something in you. And I think that is coachable to a point, but I do also think that there is a wiring a lot of times where it's just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm not going to settle for anything, and I'm going to keep fighting and keep trying and keep practicing till figure out and improve whatever the thing is. And that's that passion. That's that purpose, and that's why I think in the Olympics a lot of times the purpose comes out more than a lot of other sports, because we find out about, their mother or father who passed or something, and they're doing this for them, and there's just that extra kind of drive, or maybe they had a rough childhood or grew up in a certain way that was really challenging. That passion and that purpose that can kind of fuel you to get you to that next level. And more on that purpose is a clear understanding of why they do what they do. What's giving them that sense of meaning, just beyond your typical, I want to win and I want to be better and things like that. And I do think the great ones have that. And, Michael Jordan I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, and and he was the best. I think, I see people talk about LeBron and all that stuff. I think it'll always be Jordan to me. And he always felt like he had a chip on his shoulder, and he read every headline, and whatever somebody said, he heard it and just kept wanting to get better. And it's like, Well, dude, you're already the best in the world, but he would kind of, manually create extra incentive in that purpose and that competitive fire. Look, part of that's wiring, but he also knew how to fire himself up for that deeper kind of meeting, that deeper kind of purpose, and he always wanted to show everyone. So, find whatever it is, that purpose or that deeper meaning in what you're doing, and I think that's going to help catapult you from good to great. Good book, by the way, as well, too. Next up on the list, I think this is a great one just in life and something I try and embrace. Mental toughness and resilience. I love the word resilience. I view myself as resilient. I think it's an underrated thing in the world today, in a world that to me appears very soft and, in a lot of different ways, but we'll save that podcast topic for another time. It's actually a good one. But handling adversity, right? The ability to bounce back from setbacks and stay focused under pressure. That's what the great ones do. I was watching literally, an hour ago before I came in to record this, Simone Biles. It was in the all around, a spoiler alert if you're listening to this, pause it right now so you don't hear it. She's the last one to go. If she nails her routine, she's going to win the gold medal. And just the look of focus, right? Just she walked out of the last Olympics, took, I think, 2 years off. And look, women's gymnastics, not something I follow that closely, but I love the intensity that I'm seeing in her face, and it just looked like she came there to win. She had that sense of purpose. People were saying what they said about how she walked out and took a mental health break, and she handled all that adversity. And you know what she did? She was the last person to go. She nailed it. She just crushed it, and she got the gold medal. And it was so fun to watch. And again, I don't know the scoring. I don't know the routines, but it's just like when you see greatness, you know it. And I could just see that this moment was it. All the adversity, all the criticism, all the things that people say on Twitter, like this was the moment to kind of get back at them. And she just nailed it. And I think the great ones have that ability to kind of handle the adversity and get through that. That ties directly into perseverance as well. So the persistence to keep going despite obstacles. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get sick. You're going to lose. The ref's going to make a terrible call. Right, your coach isn't going to play you the right way. Like things are going to happen along the way. Are you going to let those things stop you? Use them as an excuse. Use them as a crutch for why? I didn't do it. I just didn't feel like no. The great ones find a way to kind of persevere through that. And that's where that next level of excellence really comes, despite all the obstacles. And I think one of the great ways to think about this is expect that there will be obstacles. You will get injured. There will be setbacks. So if you have your right frame of mind and you just know that there will be setbacks, it feels less frustrating than when you just feel like it comes out of the blue. I'm 45 years old and I'm very active and things like that. Over the last couple of years, I've had just injuries that pop up. Again, very active, and it's normal for somebody as active as me at my age to get injuries. And I found myself getting frustrated and annoyed and angry because it's setback and it's rest and it's all the things I don't like doing. I like to be on the go and doing stuff. But when I shifted my mindset to be like, look, this is a part of being this active, is that there will be injuries, there will be setbacks. What it's also done is, I'm not angry, frustrated, and mad when those things pop up. But now when things are really going well and I'm healthy and everything's going, I'm like more grateful that my body is in the great position that it's in. And I just did a little reframe. I just did a simple little reframe of be like, hey, this is part of the deal at 45 and you work out, constantly and those types of things. Shifting that, and I'm like, I'm not mad when it happens. It's like, okay, this is this one. How am I going to address it? And you know what I've also found is then I can just, all right, this activity, shooting basketball, right now is weightlifting. I had to dial it back a little bit. It's like, okay, this gives me more time to go do some running activity and more time to go do the yoga that I enjoy doing. It kind of allows me to shift things around. So there's always a new way to kind of shift the perspective. But again, the great ones just find a way through the perseverance to just keep going, right? Next up on the list is high standards and attention to detail. So I played basketball with a buddy of mine, and he played college ball. And, I usually go to the gym and I just shoot around and knock my shots and do whatever. When I shoot around with him, it's very different, right? He's like, okay, we're going to go to this spot. We're going to go to this spot. We're going to go to this spot. We got to hit 7 out of 10. Then we got to get 5 free throws in a row. Then we got to get at least 7 out. Like, it's very structured. There's standards associated with it, and you've got to do it, and we won't leave till you do it. It's funny. That's the type of thing that when you have these high standards that put you apart and put you to the next level. We've all heard about Kobe and Jordan and waking up early and the number of shots that they take and things like that. But prioritizing high quality work over doing more in less time. So I think it's really important to make sure that you're doing quality over quantity. And I do a lot of the quantity stuff, right? Or it's like, I'm just shooting around, getting shots up and things like that. And no, like when I practice with him, it's like game type situations. You got to make this number. And if you miss the 6-1 and you're trying to get to 7, you start it all over again. And we just keep doing it till we get it all figured out. And I think that's the stuff. I know that's the stuff, which is why he's playing college ball and I am not playing college ball, right? Being 6'5" doesn't hurt either. But I understand. I mean, you got to be a good shooter. You got to put the time in focusing and practicing like it's a game type situation. And again, that quantity over just kind of, I don't care if you're out there for 3 hours, if it's a crappy workout and crappy practice. The other thing is the attention to detail as well, too. So it's a meticulous approach to their work, which ensures accuracy and ensures excellence. So it's not just getting out there and kind of chucking it up if I'm shooting around or doing things like that, making sure that my elbow's in, my release is good, and focusing and kind of thinking about it like I'm actually in a game type of situation. Those are the type of things, that little attention to detail. And whatever the sport is practicing like it matters and focusing on those little things. It's also why it's important to have a coach, too. If you're just doing this yourself, it's hard to have that super specific attention to detail, and that's why I think coaches are really good that can help you excel as well, too. Now, next up on the list is I had kind of this idea of continuous learning and improvement. So, curiosity. Do you have curiosity in the thing that you like to do so much? I think a lot of these Olympians probably have a lot of curiosity to learn a new skill, to develop some type of new knowledge. I bet that they're probably in the Olympic Village, maybe, talking to somebody else or learning a little way to do it. Again, another reason why there's a great coach who can kind of tell you, do this, not that, keep your arm over here, don't do that. Those types of ways. But they're curious to get better, not just settling for the fact that they think that they are the best. I think another key part of this is adaptability as well, too. So learning to adapt to a new situation or when something changes. Here's a little nugget for you. I talked about my men's basketball league. We happened to win that league. Thank you very much. I almost brought the trophy in, but figured that might be a little much for the podcast. But it was a lot of fun. It took it was wild. We hit a 3 at the buzzer to tie the first game. You play 2 games in one night. If you win the first, you go to the championship. We hit a 3 to tie. And then it went to double overtime and we won. Then we hit a buzzer beater in the championship game to actually move on. We were only up for 1 second in that game, and that was when the ball went through. But we had to change strategies halfway through each of these games because what we were doing was not working. And it was that adaptability that allowed us to kind of figure things out pretty quickly. And that meant kind of some players playing more, some players playing less. And being open and to doing that and changing the strategies when necessary. I'm not going to say we were excellent, but we were good enough to win on those 2 nights. But the kudos to the team because we all kind of recognized that and made some changes on the fly. And I think that curiosity, that kind of ability to adapt on the fly is really what helped make us win. Because if we would have just kept doing what we were doing, I think we would have lost. And we almost lost anyways. So, all right, last few things on kind of the achieving excellence topic. Again, I know this is a lot of sports talk, but it's the Olympics. It happens every 4 years. In 4 years, we'll do this again. Till then, you got to break from this. But time management and prioritization. So using your time efficiently, prioritizing tasks would align with those goals that you set, or delegating or eliminating any type of distraction. So, I think it's really important to make sure that you are structuring your time well if you want to achieve the greatest, because that's going to involve weightlifting, that's going to involve diet, that's going to involve sleep. We all still have to do some work or school and things like that, and making sure we have that very organized and using your family or friends and your coach to help support you to do this. Because again, a lot of times we can see the people who are kind of trending in certain directions. And I think the ones that do it really well understand that they also have to have control of their life, not just over the sport as well, too. And you've got to be able to balance the work and the rest. Guilty culprit right here. I am not good at this, which is also the reason why I've been getting injured more. So I'm learning, recognizing, and adapting to this. But the importance of rest and recovery to maintain peak performance. You know, you hear that a lot as an athlete. I just don't think I ever really believed that. I thought you could just keep working and keep lifting and keep exercising. You can, but things need time to rest, heal, recover. Muscle growth happens when you're resting. So you've got to let the muscles that you just worked rest, and then that's where they're going to grow and expand. So I never really believed this, but the great ones understand it, and they actually prioritize the rest and recovery as well, too. All right, 2 more little points on kind of what it takes to achieve greatness. Wouldn't go without saying, but the support system in your environment, right? So surrounding with positive influences, being around people who inspire you. I think that's super important, from your coaches to your teammates to your parents, to your siblings, to your grandparents, whatever it is, making sure that you've got positive people, because there's going to be times where it sucks, the workouts are hard, you're exhausted, you've gotten hurt, you know, whatever it is. Again, there is so much sacrifice that it takes to really achieve this type of greatness that we're seeing on TV on a regular basis. And I encourage you to watch it and listen to some of the stories that NBC will tell about the parents and the family and things like that. It's really heartwarming and interesting at the same time. But the next point is healthy environment. You know, create an environment that supports the goals and well-being of that person. Look, you know, you've got to be able to stay away from the drugs and alcohol. How many great athletes, you know, I ran into this in high school as well too, where I maybe could have gone on to college and maybe played, you know, a D2 or 3 basketball, or, you know, same thing with track or something like that. But you know what I did? Hit the bottle, hit the booze, hit the joint, hit the drugs, hit the other stuff, and it's like, and you're fading, right? And you're just fading. So you've got to stay around these positive influences. You've got to stay in a healthy environment. And you know something else that can take you out here that maybe doesn't get talked about as much? Not getting into a relationship that can really kind of pull you down too. You know, I mean, I'm talking middle school, high school, college. You start dating that girl, and maybe it seems casual, and he's kind of, you know, distracting or jealous or overbearing, doesn't understand kind of what you're trying to do and the goals and things like that. And that can pull and distract people away. I see it happen all the time. Oh, but we've been together for, you know, a couple years and things like that. It's like, okay, I understand young love. Like, I get it. I was there too. You know, my girlfriend, we went off to college together. I think it lasted 3 or 4 months once we get to college. I mean, not much. I mean, it was unhealthy. You know, it wasn't all the stuff that was just ugly that could go wrong, did go wrong. But the same thing applies if you're trying to achieve greatness and, you know, being mindful of the relationships that you get yourself into. Last but not least is self-belief and confidence. You're not going to be able to do any of these things if you don't believe in yourself and you don't have a certain level of confidence. And that confidence can build over time. And again, we're not talking arrogance. You know, you see some of the Olympic folks, I think we see it a little more on the track and field, it feels like a lot of times, on the arrogance, but, you know, they get their pub every 4 years. Let them have their moments. But I do think you got to have confidence in your abilities, right? Believing in the skills and your potential to achieve greatness. You do have to believe that you can do this, that you've put in the work to do this, that you're talented enough to do it. And again, I think you can bump right up into the arrogance, but let's try and keep it in the confidence side of things. And always keep that positive self-talk going, maintaining that positive mindset and encouraging yourself through challenging yourself. Keep that positive mindset up. Look, your body's capable of incredible things. The athletes and what they do and the physical shape. I mean, these gymnasts, these guys, my daughter was like, their muscles are bigger than yours. I'm like, yeah, by a ton. I mean, these dudes are jacked. I mean, it's incredible how high they jump, the rings, the tee, the pommel horse. Are you kidding me? This stuff is amazing. But making sure, I mean, we know what the bodies can do, but when it gets to that point, who's got the better mental, right? The better mental side of this thing. And that positive self-talk is really key. I always liked when we were in track, we'd always envision ourselves. I know it's just, you know, run fast and turn left, but like having a mental image of like what it looks like, and you're coming around, like you close your eyes and kind of visually see all this. I think it's a really cool thing, but it really helped with that positive self-talk, because look, it's hard and there's other great athletes out there. But when you think about all of these factors, the mindset and the lifestyle and all the things I just mentioned, those are really just some of the things that can help contribute to really taking good and making it into great and making it into excellent. And that's what I think we see a lot of when you look at the Olympics right now, is people who have really kind of either consciously, I would say more consciously, kind of thought about things like this and sat together and made a plan with their team in order to help do this. And now we get to sit there and watch them, bring home the gold for their respective countries. That's pretty dang cool. So anyways, special Olympic episode. We'll do this again in 4 years from now. We'll see. We'll dust this off and have another fun conversation about it. But I thought it would be fun as we all sit and kind of watch these amazing athletes bring home the gold, hopefully for our country as well too. So anyways, hope you got a lot out of it. I know I did. It was a fun little topic. And my name is Steve Moak, and I am the Unlicensed Counselor. Till next time, thank you very much.